Hello and welcome to another Stargate video. So I've been binging a lot of Norse mythology content recently, and this led me down a similar line of thinking to my Where Are the Major Greek Gods video. That being, where are most of the major Norse gods in Stargate? Now sure, unlike with the Greek gods, we actually do meet a good amount of Norse gods in Stargate. Thor, Heimdall, and Loki for example, but where are Odin, Tyr, and Freyja? I'm not the only one who thinks that's weird, right? In the Greek Gods video, people pointed out that the most likely behind the scenes reasons we didn't see most of the Olympians in Stargate was because of the show Hercules: The Legendary Journeys. Apparently it was really popular and also dealt with evil gods, so the writers on Stargate probably didn't want to compete, which is a fair point, but for the Norse ones I couldn't find a similar reason. Sure, the Norse gods did show up in Hercules, but if we go by the logic to why the Olympians didn't show up, Stargate wouldn't have used any of the Norse gods at all. In the show we meet around 8 named Asgard, but the extended media bumps that number up to around 20 or so. Yes, extended media isn't strictly canon and all that, but 20-ish Asgard to look at? That's cool, right? Well, no. Going back to the Greek Gods video, there's one more time I reference that video, it will be later, I promise. I mentioned how Stargate has this tendency to attach random names in mythology to something that can be switched out with anything else and it wouldn't affect anything. And well, that's kind of the case again here with the Asgard. I think Sigyn in the book Nightfall shows this the best. Side note, I'm not good at pronunciations, I'm trying the best with some of these names. In mythology, she was the wife of Loki, the one who held a bowl over his head to prevent venom from falling into his face. What role does she play in the book? None. Literally none. She is just name dropped along with Thor, Heimdall, and Fenrir, who worked on the Life Extension project. Fenrir is a major character in the book who I've talked about before, so I give him a pass, but Sigyn is named once, and again, you could swap her out with anyone else and it wouldn't affect the story at all. And the show is guilty of doing this too. I don't know how many of you want to learn about Aegir, a Jotun who throws wild parties under the sea, but here's all his scenes in Stargate, at least as much as I can show within copyright.
Commander Thor, this is Aegir of the Valhalla. We have assumed defensive positions and are awaiting the target ship. The enemy ship has been destroyed.
Thor, this is Commander Aegir of the Valhalla. We have lost contact with the colony. We have located what appears to be the remains of a human form replicator floating in space. It obviously survived the destruction of its ship. By all appearances, it is currently inactive. Transmit coordinates. Use caution, Thor.
Yeah, not that much, right? I get why this is from a writing standpoint across all the media, as at the end of the day, sometimes the name of something just doesn't matter, especially if it's only on screen for this amount of time. However, as a result of those 20 named Asgard, most of them are just name drops, and even those that do have lore to them have nothing to do with the myths. This has been an overly complicated way of me saying I'm going to focus on the Asgard who actually have stuff to talk about. I feel I've wasted enough of your time, so let's just get into it. Let's start off with Tyr, the Aesir god of war, law, and justice. In Stargate, he has only appeared in 2 forms of media, the Alderak Fantastic Frontiers RPG and the SG-1 novel Hostile Ground. Fantastic Frontiers gives us a bit of history about Tyr. We don't know much about his early days, but it states that Tyr was in command of the Valkyries for a time before the Protected Planets Treaty. The Valkyries in the RPG are sorta like the special forces of the Asgard, who train in close personal combat and were formed to fight the Goa'uld, though they have shifted to fighting other enemies, most notably the Replicators. Since Tyr led the Valkyries for a time, this most likely means he was part of the various operations against the System Lords until the treaty was signed. He eventually reached the position of Chief Tactical Officer and Military Strategist for the Asgard fleet. He was among the Asgard that helped in the preservation of humanity by relocating humans to other worlds. Slight lore break here, I'm aware that there are those who think the Asgard just took control of worlds the Goa'uld had settled humans on. I'll be honest, that has been my mindset, but clearly the writers of this book felt differently, and I know there are those who do prefer if the Asgard settled humans. That's kinda up to you to work out. However, while Thor and the others believed it was best to shelter these humans from the System Lords, Tyr felt otherwise. He felt that by sheltering these people, they would not have any incentive to grow stronger, and the best way for him to protect these people was to let them protect themselves. When the Protected Planets Treaty was formed, Tyr claimed the world of Vanaheim. Vanaheim originally didn't have a Stargate, which is why Tyr chose it. It lay outside of the Goa'uld's knowledge and so began to transport people there via ship. The people he chose to place here were warriors and their families. He chose not to give them one of Thor's hammer devices, but he did leave them with two other things. First was a Stargate from a world that had been left uninhabited due to a natural disaster, and shock spears. These were weapons originally designed by Tyr for the Valkyries. It's actually a pretty ingenious weapon. It's a roughly 1.5 meter long pole with a triangular nozzle at one end. The other end of the weapon has a square piece of metal with jagged teeth carved into it, designed to allow the bearer to brace it against the ground without having it slide across a flat surface. The nozzle shoots a bolt of green energy, and this is where the brilliance of the weapon comes in. If it hits a target with no naquadah in its blood, nothing happens. If it hits a target that does have naquadah in its blood, it causes intense pain. So the weapon can only harm Goa'uld, Jaffa, Tok'ra, and former hosts. Tyr gave these people this weapon and told them to shoot anyone who came through the gate. While there was a chance a powerful system lord could overwhelm the people of Vanaheim, Tyr felt this was an acceptable risk to promote strength for his chosen people, though he did always keep a watchful eye on the world just in case. The people struggled at first, as while Vanaheim is somewhat similar to the terrain of Earth, specifically the American Northwest because reasons, most of the world is stuck in perpetual winter. One harsh winter wiped out large chunks of their population, but when spring came, the people were toughened by the experience and they were able to endure almost any other weather condition. Over time, their warriors evolved into competent tacticians and developed a well-organized military. And the curious among them, who studied the technology given to them, began to promote scientific growth and accumulation of knowledge, which has led to the citizens to enter a scientific revolution similar to the Renaissance. While at present day their tech levels around that of 1960s Earth, the discovery and use of naquadah on their world has led to their technology to have greater energy output compared to Earth. So you have a society that is highly militarized and is in the middle of a scientific revolution that is super hostile to anyone that visits them via the gate. Oh, did I mention they are super religious? Good thing they don't know how to use the Stargate and have little desire to use it, seeing it merely as a way for the Goa'uld to invade their world. This feels like something out of 40k, but I can't think of a specific example. Anyway, Tyr was very pleased with all this. No one else was. Many Asgard believe that Tyr's actions have prevented these humans from showing their true potential as a species. Also, this very much violates the PPT. The RPG never factors this in when talking about the Asgard reaction, but I might have an explanation on this later. Thor personally removed Tyr from his position as Chief Tactical Officer and regulated him to captain of a single starship. Tyr's next appearance is in the SG-1 book Hostile Ground, which is the first in the Apocalypse trilogy, a storyline where SG-1 are sent into the future before Jack could help expose the NID stealing from Earth's allies. Hammond and Dr. Fraser go to a meeting on Tolana to discuss the issue. It's important to remember we're technically in an alternate timeline now, as it seems Jack was supposed to be at this meeting and agreed to do the investigation seen during Shades of Grey. But because he's not here, the meeting doesn't go well since the Tolan and the Asgard trust only O'Neill and refuse to trust anyone else to do the investigation. Hammond tries to give his word that he or someone else can be trusted, and this is where Tyr speaks up. He's one of 3 Asgard representatives at the meeting, along with Thor and an unnamed Asgard. He claims that the issue is that for the Asgard, nothing else matters more than the genetic survival of their species. Janet points out that is literally the goal of every species, but Thor clarifies that what Tyr means is that humans will put things over survival. Sometimes these are good things like friendship and love, but they can also be bad things like selfishness. Janet again counters, saying that doesn't mean that their species can't be trusted. Tyr agrees, but also says this means they let personal loyalties cloud their judgment. How can they be sure the people they believe trustworthy haven't succumbed to their own selfish needs? which I find hilarious because if there is one person on SG-1 who would put his own feelings for his friends and family over the common good, it would be O'Neill.
What the hell was that?
I'm sorry, Jacob. But I'm just not quite ready to sacrifice Teal'c.
His last lines of dialogue is about how science guarantees survival and the Asgard are facing great threats in their home galaxy, so they cannot risk their technology being compromised. Hammond tries to see if the Tollan Asgard will help look for SG-1, but both refuse. The Tollan won't help because, and I quote, "Given current relations between Tolana and Earth, any sharing of technology would contravene every statute in our Charter of Government. We are already occupying a very gray area of our law by meeting with you today." The Asgard can't because they don't have the resources to help, but a later chapter has Jacob reveal that the Asgard seem to be pulling out of the galaxy, and it suggested that the real reason the Asgard are making this whole investigation difficult and won't help look for O'Neill is so they can pull out without losing face. The mini ends where all the characters learn that around the time SG-1 went missing, technology was stolen from a Tollan outpost on another planet, and now Travell is not sure SG-1 is innocent. The rest of the events in this series leads to a bad outcome for this Earth, but none of it relates to Tyr. There does seem to be a big clash of personality for Tyr between the two works, but different authors who probably never communicated. Though you could say that Tyr in the book is a result of having learned his lesson from the RPG. Next we have Frigga, wife to Odin and the Aesir gods of marriage, prophecy, and motherhood. She only appears in the Wyvern Gaming RPG and comes with some interesting lore. She traveled to the planet Fensalir and gave its people something called the Brisagemin. I definitely didn't say that right. We don't know what it is other than it spreads peace and harmony. She said about helping these people build a great society free from war, equality, prosperity, and we're on the verge of space travel, though by the modern day they are in the Iron Age. This is most likely because Ra showed up, but not because the PPT was violated. Again, maybe, I'll talk about it later. No, he was here for his wife, Egeria. It's unclear why she came to the world, if it was to steal riches and had become a prisoner, or to seek wisdom and was a guest. Whatever happened, Egeria fell under Brisagemin's spell. She and Frigga lived together peacefully until Ra came, and his rage was so great it resisted the Brisagemin. He waged war with Frigga until Egeria was returned. Sometime after this, Frigga left Fensalir, and we learn from the Asgard Adun what she did. She committed a war crime. That's not me making a joke, that's a joke O'Neill said, I think. She traveled to one of Ra's worlds and detonated a device that killed thousands of Jaffa. In order to preserve the treaty, the Asgard had to disavow Frigga. One last thing to comment on is Frigga's connection to Freya both in mythology and in this RPG. Freya is a Vanir goddess of love, beauty, fertility, sex, war, gold, and seeing/influencing the future. In mythology, the two goddesses are separate deities. However, due to these similarities between the two, there is a theory that the two could have been a single goddess at one point in time and later split into two. I'm not getting into that whole debate here, but Freya is mentioned in this lore section. Specifically on some artwork in an underground temple Phoenix 1 finds, if the ruins were compiled correctly, seems to show Frigga and her daughter, Freya. Based on some context clues, it seems the people of this world are aware that Frigga is an alien, so this mother-daughter relationship is more spiritual rather than biological, whatever that means. I also found this little nugget of knowledge interesting. The device in the RPG, the Brisagemin, is based on something from mythology. It was a necklace worn by Freya and seems to be very important to her. Also, Loki and Heimdall once fought over it, and possibly in the form of seals? I just felt the need to share that fact. Sadly, Wyvern Games is either shut down or an indefinite hiatus, so we might never know who Freya is in this book, but I have a theory. What if Freya is Egeria? Let me cook on this. In the show, it was never really explained why Egeria turned on the System Lords. We know Goa'uld can become good, it's only happened like twice, but it is possible. However, we just don't know what specific thing made Egeria turn. Well, what if this was it? My guess, based on the text, is that Egeria was still evil when she came to Fensalir. The Brisamic did whatever it did, and Egeria was reborn, for lack of a better word. And maybe this could explain why we did meet a Freyja in the show. She's a Tok'ra, specifically the human host is named Freyja, and the symbiote is Anise. I've always assumed that this was just a coincidence. Like Freyja comes from a planet with a German or Scandinavian background, and that's just a common name there. But what if Freyja was the name Egeria took under Frigga's influence, or even the name of Egeria's host at the time? It's not a perfect theory, but I like it. It ties all the media together. Well, minus one thing. In the book Permafrost, a Freyja shows up, at least the spelling of it, except she doesn't really show up in the book. It's a pre-recorded hologram of her basically saying, "Hello, thank you for trapping the Draugr, great warriors. This evil can't be destroyed, but I can bind it forever. Have a happy holiday." I spent $4.31 to confirm this. I hope you all appreciate that. Now I know what you're thinking. Why is Hermod on this list? We first saw him on Atlantis, right? Well, as it turns out, no, kind of. This goes back to the Alderac RPGs, which do mention a Hermod, at least this spelling of it, which is the correct way to spell it from what I understand. Anyway, he's mentioned in the Friends and Foes book, which came out in 2004, and Hermod from Atlantis wasn't seen until 2005 during the Siege Part 3. So Hermod without an I came first, though there's not much to say. His lore section states that after the incident on Samaria, Thor sent him to aid in reconstruction, which was mentioned in the episode Thor's Chariot.
Thor has promised to leave an Asgard teacher behind to help us.
However, the RPG adds that Hermod's mission was not only to aid in the reconstruction, but also to begin aiding in the development of their culture, teaching them reading, writing, and arithmetic. The end goal is to start teaching them higher sciences. Now, I know what you're all thinking. This is like the third time the Asgard have violated the Protected Planets Treaty. Why do these extended media keep having them do that? The real answer is these are just errors with these books and RPGs, but for the sake of argument, here's my theory as to why this is. It's possible that these Asgard didn't violate the treaty. See, I came across this line of dialogue in the episode Red Sky.
You think it's a protected planet?
Well, Teal'c wasn't zapped away.
There's no Thor's hammer here.
Well, I wouldn't need one if it was named in the Gould Asgard Treaty.
This line implies that Samaria is not part of the treaty, or not officially. Perhaps this is simply an error, or maybe the Asgard do protect or control worlds outside of the treaty. We did see something like this in the episode Point of View, where in an alternate universe, the Asgard do interfere with a Goa'uld invasion of Earth, where Earth is not part of the treaty. There are other explanations. For example, Tyr might have said Valhalla in secret, so it's not part of the treaty, though when his actions came to light, he was punished. With Frigga and Hermod, it could be that because the humans of the world knew of the Asgard's true identity, they are allowed to interfere. In Hermod's lore, when some members of the High Council question Thor's decision, he states that since the Asgard brought the Sumerians to their world, and now they know the truth, it's their responsibility to teach them. A similar thing could be said for Earth, given the Asgard gave us shields and weapons technology for the Prometheus, which also violates the treaty. Sure, we've seen the High Council very much refuse to do something due to the treaty, but during Red Sky, it's hinted the Asgard might have fixed the sun. However, if they did, they only did so because SG-1 gave them plausible deniability. So the Asgard might be willing to break the PPT when they think they can get away with it. Getting back to Hermod himself, well, not really much to say. The RPG does mention his name is that of the Messenger of the Gods in Norse mythology. Overall, he's just a typical Asgard. Thoughtful, gentle, overly analytical, and a trifle detached, but he has become fond of the people of Samaria. Which doesn't sound like the guy we saw on Atlantis.
Dr. Kavanaugh,
Yes.
stop talking, please. Thank you.
Actually, how funny would it be if this lore was true to the shows and they sent Hermod with an eye to Samaria? Like, he got annoyed working with the people on the Daedalus who at least somewhat advanced technology. Can you imagine him on a planet where the tech level is, well...
This about sums it up, huh?
Finally, we get to the Allfather, chief of the Aesir gods, Odin. Out of all the missing Norse gods, his absence feels the weirdest because I'd argue he's one of the 3 popular gods from Norse mythology. Thor being number 1, with Odin and Loki being in either spots of 2 or 3 depending on how you want to look at it. We see Thor a lot in Stargate and we get at least 1 episode with Loki, but no Odin. If you want to get technical about it, his name was invoked in the episode Red Sky.
The eye of Odin grows dim.
That doesn't count.
Some might say we did see him on the High Council, possibly as the leader, but no name was ever given. The closest I could find was Chief Archon, but that's only on transcripts. Actually, I think I can prove this isn't Odin with at least 75% confidence. So if you ever watch the scenes with the Asgard High Council, there are 4 members. We're not going to focus on names just yet, but focus on accessories. The Asgard typically don't wear anything, but 3 of the 4 Asgard here appear to be wearing pendants of some kind. We have one with a gold chain and pendant, a black chain and pendant. The final one I can't quite make out. This Asgard is never in focus and almost never talks. His pendant appears to be gold, but doesn't appear to have a chain. The Chief Archon is the one with the gold chain and pendant, and we see an Asgard with the same chain and pendant later when Thor introduces Teal'c to Penegal, who we learn is on the High Council. So I'm confident in saying this is Penegal and not Odin, he just wasn't named yet. Now, there are some counters to this idea. The 2 are voiced by different actors, and you could say that the Chief Archon was Odin, but he left and Penegal took over by the time of New Order. Or even something like both own the same pendant and chain. My counter to these counters is to remember Stargate is a TV show. You can have different actors portray the same character. It might be a little weird. However, given this is a background character, I don't think most people would notice or even care all that much. As for the 2 possibilities of giving the other the pendant or having the same pendant, that's just really confusing for audiences. It's a lot simpler for the average viewer to just say this is Penegal the whole time. On that note, who the hell is Penegal? Like, I assumed he must be a minor Norse deity or figure. As far as I can tell, Penegal is not only not a Norse deity, he has no connection to any mythology. The closest thing I could find was a mountain in southern Italy that shares the same name. And I'm not alone in this confusion, as this Gate World forum page shows people were discussing this back in 2004. I don't want to waste any more time on this, but like, why? Why have a faction called the Asgard based on Norse mythology and one of their leaders doesn't even have a Norse name? Moving on to Odin himself, what do we know about him in the extended media? His name does appear in the Stargate SG-1 DVD collection issue 10. Unfortunately, fandom made Odin's involvement sound cooler than it really is. They said he casted out the ghoul Old Forseti when he enslaved the Vikings. I know someone who owns the collection and I asked them to double check this, and as it turns out, that's not what happened. The page is about a sword found on Samaria with inscriptions that indicate it once belonged to the god Forseti. In mythology, he was the Norse god of justice and recollection. It's theorized he was a ghoul Old along with the Midgard serpent Jormungandr, but that's kind of it. The rest of the inscriptions tell the mythology surrounding Jormungandr, how Odin threw him into the sea and Thor fought him while fishing once. Don't get me wrong, this page is cool, the sword looks awesome, and I love the inclusion of mythology, but Odin as an Asgard really has nothing to do with it. As far as I can find, the only media in Stargate that has ever tackled Odin was in the book Valhalla. SG-1 meets Odin on another planet where he's been conducting an experiment for 2,000 years. When the Asgard first began to use clones, they knew there would be a limit to how long they could maintain genetic diversity among their people to keep reproducing. Some came up with alternate methods to address this issue. One group looked into crafting artificial life forms they could download into, but they couldn't develop an artificial brain sophisticated enough to house a full Asgard mind. A lot of people ask why didn't the Asgard just download their minds into robots or something, given Thor's mind was downloaded into Anubis's ship. But keep in mind that Thor didn't have full control over the ship, and clearly there were some issues going on with him inside. There's other stuff affecting this idea later, but we'll get to it. Odin was part of a group that believed the solution was to develop a virtual existence for the Asgard to live in. While they managed to make a virtual reality that seemed real in every detail, their ability to interact with reality was extremely limited. The High Council concluded there was little reason to extend their existence if they couldn't interact with the rest of existence, and ordered the experiments to be terminated. Odin felt differently and broke from the Asgard to pursue his own research on the subject. Without the aid of the others, he was forced to create clones from his own genetic material, and his biopattern degraded over time. As a result, he has lost his right eye and relies on two small silver ovoids, his ravens and the myths, to supply his body with the energy needed to be mobile. He also needed test subjects, so he traveled to Earth and found two warring tribes of humans, the Vanir and the Jotun. Yes, not accurate to the myths, but there's way too much to talk about, so we're going to skim past it. Odin copied the minds of 400 warriors who were dying on the battlefield, having his ravens appear as a Valkyrie and offering the dying man the choice to come to Valhalla to help stop Ragnarok. He took the minds to another world and eventually created the Well of Mimir. The well would house the minds of the scanned people and transmit them to portable holographic generators, giving them holographic bodies. Basically, think of something like the Doctor from Star Trek, but far more lifelike. O'Neill even makes the remark that these hologram people seem to have their own odors. Odin has had these warriors engage in combat every day for two reasons. First, this is how they imagined Valhalla being, so Odin is giving them what they want. Second is the speed and complexity of battle conditions is a good way to test the technology. Odin will even update the technology and tactics every once in a while to keep things interesting for his test subjects. While this has been a major achievement for Odin, there are 4 problems with the technology. First is the holograms can only operate within a specific distance from the well, which seems to be limited to a small area on the planet. The second issue Odin discovered is that the energy emitted by the holographic avatars, when massed together with others, can have undesired effects on the real world. Disturbances in weather being one, but there's a bigger issue. If a number of avatars were present in a ship, their combined energies would create an electrical field that would cause significant damage to said ship. If the Asgard were to implement this technology as it is, it would be very difficult for them to crew larger ships since they couldn't be in close proximity to one another. They'd be forced to live as planet-bound hermit. Odin thinks this issue can be solved with time. It's the next problem that's concerning. When the Asgard transfer between bodies, they spend only a brief moment in digital space, as it were. However, these Norsemen have been without physical bodies for centuries, and Odin has discovered that their mental patterns are degrading and eventually will collapse unless he can get more power to strengthen the system. Now, you could point to the various times in the series that people have had their minds stored in digital spaces or robot bodies, but keep in mind when this happened, it was for a short period of time. The longest time someone spent in a robot body was Harlan for at least 10,000 years, and well, does he seem right in the head?
Come try ya!
The final problem, and the most pressing one, is sort of a combination of all these factors that have manifested in one being, Surtur. I should note that while in the book he was a human whose mind was scanned, in one of the audio dramas he is an Asgard, and I do prefer that interpretation. I'll save that story for a later video. When Odin started all this, he explained the situation to the warriors in terms they could understand, and they all agreed to help. When he has to do maintenance on an emitter, he asked the individual consciousness if they wish to keep doing this, and so far, everyone has said yes, except Surtur. Odin's initial plan for this situation was simply to turn the emitter off, but Surtur sees that as dying, which he doesn't want to do. He wants to be free to go somewhere else and make his own choices, not to be a test subject for the Allfather. However, he can't really leave due to the distance issue. Odin did offer him an Asgard body, revealing his true form to Surtur, but this didn't go well. Surtur doesn't want to live as an imp, as he put it, and Odin had to delete the whole experience from his mind. But Surtur's rebellious nature, in combination with his advanced mental degradation, has led him to cause problems. He's attempted to enforce his will on the well and can manifest himself as a fire giant, which causes stress on the system. Odin has tried to call the Asgard for aid on several occasions, but they have denied each one as they're too busy. SG-1 offers to get Odin a quadria from Jonas to fix his power issue, and while it helps, it's not in the way one would expect. The story ends where Surtur is about to kill Odin, but Jonas suggests that he merges with Odin. Using a Nequadria emitter, Surtur, Odin, and all the other minds in the well are merged into one new being, who, after talking with the others briefly, disappears, with Daniel suggesting that maybe this new being can do what the modern Asgard can't do: ascend. And that's the end of Odin, or whatever this new being was. 3 little fun facts I wanted to share. Odin says the reason the Asgard interact with the Nordic people so much is because they remind them of how they used to be, which I find a little heartwarming. Second is O'Neill asks Odin about Thor, specifically the whole he is his father thing. Odin says the Asgard left behind such familial relationships long ago, but he was Thor's teacher, so we suppose that's something of a father-son relationship. Finally, Odin's idea of giving the Asgard holographic bodies would have been touched on in Stargate Worlds. One of the playable races in that game would have been the Asgard. Now, this would have been an issue since the Asgard all died by the end of SG-1, so the solution would be for Asgard players to be given holographic bodies. Kind of funny that that idea popped up again. And that's the end of the major Norse gods and their roles in Stargate, at least as far as I can find. Now, in the last video on this subject, I promise this is the last time I mention it, I brought up some reasons as to why in universe we never saw the Olympians, such as Kronos wiping them out or the same Ghoul taking multiple identities. With the Asgard, I think there's a simpler explanation. They were just busy. When you consider the massive threat of the replicators in their home galaxy, on top of their species essentially dying due to their use of cloned bodies, dealing with the system lords in the Milky Way probably wasn't a big priority to them. Sure, they fought with the system lords, but that seems to have been long ago. You kind of see this with the lore on Tyr and Frigga. The events they took part in happened in the distant past. And by the modern age, the Asgard just aren't as prevalent in the Milky Way as they once were. Heck, it seems by the end of their war with the replicators, they had gone from an empire that had influence in multiple galaxies to a single planet. So why didn't we see them in universe? They were busy. Though I do have one little theory I want to bring up. The lore about Tyr, Frigga, and Odin seems to put them in an almost rogue-like status from the rest of the Asgard, similar to Loki, the Vanir, or even Fenrir. Getting back to my point, maybe some of these Asgard didn't die off with the rest. Perhaps they could be living among the Vanir. Side note, I know in mythology, Aesir and Vanir are 2 tribes of gods, but that doesn't seem to be the case in Stargate, as Freyr, who is a Vanir god, was among the main branch of the Asgard. Heck, the Vanir is a term used by fans in the Atlantis Legacy books to describe the Pegasus Asgard. I think one of the writers for the show accepted the term. It was in a Gateworld interview, I believe, and we never did learn any of the Vanir's names in the show. So maybe that's where some of these Asgard went and are still alive. Or maybe they didn't and died with the rest of the Asgard. But what do you all think? Do you wish we got to see some of these Asgard in the show? And what are some of your ideas on where they were/are? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe. Follow me on my social medias. And remember,
This is your prison. Your technology will not function here. There are no luxuries, no worshippers, no slaves to do your
Joke, I think we just got the answering machine.
only basic sustenance.